Woo!
Are you there?
You know it's too early in the morning.
Yeah, it is, my friend. I would agree. It's 5:15 here in Idaho. So,
No, you're good.
oh man. Hey, I appreciate I got a funny story to share with you if you had a moment. We have this cat, new cat, a baby cat, and she's
Really?
a she's a minx, and so
Uh-huh.
she doesn't have a tail or whatever. And so they don't really poop very good. And so she comes to me and she's got shit all over her back and everything. And I was just like, right before, and I was just like, gosh, this can't be happening. So, anywho, last 5 minutes, thank good you were a little late, which is good.
Yeah.
Uh, Gave me a little time to deal with some shit, I guess, if that was the case.
Yeah.
Not how I want to start my Tuesday, man, but
Hey, things happen, man.
no, that's life making, while you're making other plans. But
So it's
hey
like
man, I appreciate you first and foremost for coming on the Running Educator podcast. And uh what I kind of like to do is just kind of do a 5 minute deal of kind of just random. I don't want to take myself too serious. I just want to have some fun with this, but I also want to learn a little bit about you, a little bit about your history, and basically my biggest takeaway from this would be, how can we help young people get into the music, the arts, the acting profession? And really, I think your story, because I mean, man, I loved I grew up in the 90s.
yeah,
I'm Gen X kind of a kid, so I love the 90s, scene of music, from grunge to hip hop to, and I think that's, we can touch on that as a little bit. But um so my 5 minutes of just meet and greet. Favorite subject in school?
oh, choir.
Cool. I figured you'd kind of say
Yeah,
that.
choir. It's like when we think choir and yeah, that was it. Choir and college, what was it? College was, I don't know, college was a blur. I was DJing all through college, right? So I was DJing and partying, and I just went to class and got the work done. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we didn't have a favorite.
Well, that's good. That's all around balance. I think a lot of people need that in life. So, but here's my next question: cats or dogs? After
Neither
hearing
of
my
us
story.
animals.
Oh yeah, is animals good? Good. Yeah. No.
Yeah. I mean, I could probably, I could probably do a dog because I've had a dog, but I think once you've had a dog already, like I had a dog when I was smaller as a child, and her name was Nico. And Nico ran away, and then that was it. I fulfilled my dog responsibility for my life.
That was the duties. Like,
Yeah, that was my duty. So I was like, okay, we're good. I don't need another
nice.
dog ever again.
Yeah. No, I've had both, unfortunately.
Hmm.
And so yeah. Manual or an automatic? See, it's a good way to get to 5 minutes of meet and greet in.
See, manual's old school. That's the Volkswagen Bug shifting, right? And it's like, miss those days, but do I want to be manual now? So I'd have to say both, because one of the things I talk about a lot sometimes is that I am so grateful that I've experienced some of the things that, you know, are old school that help me today.
Mhm.
Like I'm just glad that I had to stick my finger in a dial and dial seven numbers and call my friend and say, "Hey man, that's your mom. Can I come over?" Right?
Mhm.
As opposed to now, right? Just little things like that just make I like, both of them make me appreciate how I grew up in my childhood and how blessed I am to have grown up in both worlds, because some of our experiences in the past have really shaped us who we are, and they're still with us.
Mhm.
And that's part of your success as well. It's just your experiences of the person that is an explorer, or the person that has to go live in the woods, or knows how to hunt, or knows how to do those things that require just very simplistic caveman attributes, right? Those are the things that are valuable to you if you're living in the age of tech.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have to. I mean, I'm as tech savvy as they come,
Hmm.
but I do just love the fact that I've been through the simple things, and it just makes life more well-rounded.
Yeah, I would agree. I gave when I first started teaching, I gave my students a rotary phone, and I was like, "How would you work it?" And they were just like, "What is it?" And I was like, "It's a phone," and they just didn't know. It was just really fascinating to see what they were like. Where's the buttons? I was like, well, you got to figure out how to make a phone call. And so I had to show them, like, yeah, if I wanted to call long distance, area code first.
Yep,
and so
yep.
um
And then it's more nuanced than that.
yeah.
It's like, how do you do it with speed?
Hmm.
And that goes to, okay, you have to have a real good tip to corner, tip to corner angle game. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
like that is important, right? Because
Hmm.
it just to me, it just help things like that just help me with problem solving. It seems like just those little things of remembering that it's not just that it was a phone,
Hmm.
but there were 5 different things about it that were very imperative of you being successful using it. Now that's going too much into a rotary phone, but when you're asking kids and they have no idea, when you remember those things, you're like, wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy that I remember that.
Yeah.
So
It is crazy. It is crazy. So what's your favorite movie? I mean, one movie you'd watch over and over and over.
Godfather,
All right. All right. That's
no matter when it's on, kind of stops me in my tracks.
that's a timeout in life right there.
Yeah, Godfather. Well, just Godfather, Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Um, yeah, those two right there stop me in my tracks.
Did you see Jedi in the theater and Godfather in the theater?
Yeah, I seen Godfather. I didn't see in the theater, but Star Wars and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
That's Return of the Jedi. We rode our bikes to the movies and saw that on Saturday in the daytime.
Yep.
That's back when you could ride your bikes all over the city, and can
Yeah.
take the bus places and just be with your friends and have fun. So
Nice. Nice.
yeah.
All right. Now, if you had one chance with somebody, anybody, past or present, to do a duet with, who would it be?
Ooh, duet. Uh, Probably Tupac.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Cool. Nice. That would be,
and more big. I was friends with all them dudes, man.
yeah.
Like I knew everybody back then. You know, I think everybody respected us because we broke through. We were respected by everybody, right? Respected by everybody in New York, respected by everybody in LA. And, that people just really loved us, right?
Mhm.
And, you know, some people were hateful because they didn't understand the music, or, the people who are hardcore, we're from New York, we don't like nobody. There's gonna be some of those. But everybody in LA was like, man, y'all did it. Because
Mhm.
they respect the hustle, right?
Right.
They get what this is saying, game recognized game. And they know we wasn't just the average young kids that didn't, they knew we were men. And it's a difference, right? So
Mhm.
we got a lot of respect on both sides.
That's awesome. If you can kind of elaborate on that, going into strictly political, your first hit in 1990,
Yeah.
it's just kind of elaborate on who produced the tracks, and again, educate us on those types of top line, who did what and where. Were you the brains? I mean, obviously the brains behind it, the program and whatnot, but talk a little bit about that, because it's completely different if you look at Whoop, there it is, to strictly political, two different types of almost bands, if you ask me. But
Yeah.
I'd like to get your perspective on that.
Same band.
Yeah.
Speed. Steve does the beat, I do the lyrics, right? But
Yeah.
it's amazing because it's the first time anybody's ever asked about Strictly Political. And I've done 200 of these
Really?
last
Huh.
year, 200 of these, interviews, podcast. I mean, I do this every day. I just got 3 more today, right? Just
Hmm.
because this is what I do. I love to do this. Strictly Political was made um out of a necessity of me wanting everybody to vote,
Mm.
right? And even back then, I just wanted everybody to vote because I had voted for the first time at 18. So I was like 22 when I wrote that. Because that's when I first got to Atlanta. And um that record was just inspired by I think the 92 election of Bill Clinton. Because we had went through, you know, we went through Reagan and went through Bush. And then it was kind of that was like the coming up on I think it was coming up on the LA riots.
Yeah.
I think it might have been then. And I just felt political because Public Enemy had did all their stuff. And see, I knew all the record reps back in the day because I was a DJ. DJ at a club called Magic City, an adult entertainment club, and then a regular club called Club Michaels. And I knew all the record reps and Alan Cole from Columbia Records, who actually sent Whoomp there to Columbia Records, but he was like, "Hey man, I need some help. You want to help me, um, run around Public Enemy, right?" So I drove the van for Public Enemy, and one of my friends in New York knew Public Enemy, but I got to know all them cats, right? And I think this is like, I think this might have been no, this was I don't know if it was the same time before or after. I just remember it kind of was inspired by Public Enemy, but it wasn't like I was militant. I just wanted people to vote, right? Because my father, Dr. Cecil Glenn, he was an educator, and he um, was the first. Well, he basically started the whole, African American studies or Black studies curriculum in the state of Colorado, right?
Mm.
He was the dean of University of Colorado Ethnic Studies program. He was Um, he got his doctorate degree and he helped thousands of kids and people and older people and anybody who wanted to get through school. He was able to get them financial aid so they can go to school. And he was very instrumental. So he had taught me about voting and what it meant from an early age, right? My
Mm.
mother as well, because they were from the South, Nashville, Tennessee, and Tuskegee, Alabama. So they had been through it. And I just knew how important it was to vote. And that's what inspired Strictly Political. And as far as the style of music, we were hip hop because we're from Denver, right? We're from Denver, and then I moved to California. And then so as a DJ, I'm inspired by everything because I'm ordering my records from New York, Washington, DC, 12-inch dance records, LA, San Francisco, Bobby Jimmy. And I'm ordering all these records of different forms of hip hop back in the beginning of hip hop,
Hmm.
late 80s, early 90s, right? And it's just like, okay, I'm finding out all these different styles of music, hearing different forms of music, but they all culminate in hip hop. So Strictly Political was just a slower hip hop record that we did. And, the girls at the club loved it. Like I was playing that record so much and it basically was a hit. But at the same time, I was in the Southeast,
Mm.
right? And the Southeast was bass music. If you wasn't making bass music, there was no way you were coming out of the Southeast because you had to be in New York or LA to even have a chance to have a hit record out there. Or just somewhere on the coast, right? Because Florida, you had Luke, they blew up. You had there were some, bands that had success, but they were on independent labels. Like on the west side, you had Sir Mix-a-Lot, he blew up, right? And he was up in Seattle, but at least he was on the coast. And I just knew that we had to have an up-tempo record. So I went to Steve, was like, we gotta have an up-tempo record, dude. If we have any chance of getting out of here. And he was like, I can't make the bass stuff, man. I was like, don't think bass. Think Planet Rock and Egyptian Lover, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it started. And he made the beat. We used the Kano sample because we had talked about using the Kano sample for a while. Just didn't have a reason to use it, right? Way back. And put the beat together. And I went through my rhyme books and tried to find a song to match it. And I was working on a song called Whoomp, There It Is, which was basically a party saying, throw your hands in the air, waving like you just don't care. It was something like that. And, people think it's this big Manhattan project, right? And it was just nothing but a song, right? There were no, physics or theorems or whiteboards or any of that. It was just a song about kids partying on a Friday night in the 90s. And we recorded it. And that night I had to go to work. I had a cassette, dropped it in, played it, and the response was just overwhelming. And to this day, it's still the biggest record I've had any response on ever. Because usually you play a record, a couple people come and say, hey, man, what's that record? And you tell them, right? But boom, there it is, like 15 people ran up on me, like, what the hell is that? That thing is banging. And, me and my hubris, I'm like, every record I make is a hit because I'm playing in a club and everybody likes me, so everybody likes my records. And I played Whoomp There It Is for a while, and I shelved it to get to the next record, right? Because it was kind of addicting. And I started playing it again in January of '93. And that's when Alan Cole from Columbia Records was like, man, what is that? And I'm like, that's my new record. He was like, man, give me that, man. I got to send that to New York. He sent it to New York. They get a call from Columbia Records. I'm like, ooh, this works. Let me give it to everybody. All these labels are calling me, but they're not able to understand what to do with the record. So they're kind of dragging their feet on it. And it just frustrated me. And almost gave up. Then a lady named Lisa McCall from Mercury Records, it's like, you need to talk to Al Bell. Al Bell is he owned one of the original 3 Black entertainment record companies back in the day. Stax Records, Philly International, and Al Bell owned Stax. Then you had Philly International, and you had Motown. And he had put out a record called Daisy Dukes the previous year, and it went gold. And I was like, whoa, he knows what to do with bass music. And I was like, gave him a call. Took about a week and a half to call me back. And he called me back and he was like, how you doing? I was like, Mr. Bell, let me tell you something. I got a hit record. I've tested them in all the clubs. I got a strip club. I got a regular club. I know this record is a hit record. You need to sign us. And he was like, okay. I was like, you haven't even heard the record. And to this day, these words mean so much to me because it's a part of who I am, is why he did this. He said, brother, I don't have to hear the record. I hear it in your spirit. Let's agree to agree. And I gave my 2 weeks in Magic City, club I was working at, signed a messed up record contract, and in a month and a half, we were platinum.
Wow. That's amazing. Congrats.
Just like that, right?
Wow. Yeah.
But, I went through a lot of turmoil. It took us a long time. It took us a lot of records, to get to that record. Either people think we got lucky or people think we knew what we were doing. And it was neither. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It was nothing but just work.
Yeah.
And, that ethic has always been with me because of my parents. My mother had a prep cook when I was 5 years old, because she was making me do everything. I had to cut up chickens and do just, snap peas and all kind of stuff, right? So, and my father made me shovel snow, lawn. You understand that. We had chores, you know what I mean? And those chores were non-negotiable. But at the same time, we got allowance. But then, it was like reward and consequences if you didn't do something. So, for instance, if I didn't go to church on Sunday, I couldn't play football that day because we love to play football on Sunday because we watch the Broncos and then go play football. Or if I didn't, you know, cut the grass, let the grass grow, it's like, okay, you're still gonna get your money, but I'm gonna hurt you in other ways. I'm gonna make it painful in other ways. And they might say, well, you can't watch TV today, right? And back then, boy, that was a blow. And I tested it a couple times, but then that didn't, it just instilled that work ethic in me because I knew that there's consequences, but there's reward. And then one year we had a blizzard, and we were the only family that had a snowblower. You can appreciate this. We had a snowblower, and we finished up our, sidewalks about 20 minutes, me and my brother. And I was seeing Mr. Grant struggling next door, and I was like, "We got you, Mr. Grant." Went and did his snow, then we pretty much did the whole block. Because I mean, it was fun for us, and didn't even think about charging people. We just did the whole block, and for the next 2 weeks, people would see us coming home from school, like, "Hey, y'all, come here." Like, "Hey, I appreciate y'all doing my snow last week. Here's $30." Like, whoa!
Nice.
And that just the transition from the chores to you worked real hard, and now your brother got like $300, right? When it would have took you, you do the math to get
Yeah.
that much from your parents. It's like, whoa,
Well, not only that, like back in that day too. I mean, $300 was a lot of money. Like,
that's a lot of money. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
The late '70s, early '80s.
Hmm.
Going into high school, so it was very lucrative for me, and we ate a lot of candy, and it just made me realize that if I work, I can get money. And 8 years, 9 years old, I had a paper out. And early teens, I was working at this ice cream shop, and uh, I worked at the university in the AV department where I dragged around the projectors and everything to the classes and made sure the professors had their stuff. And then I started chefing and working in restaurants all through college. And I do not or have ever feared work. So my work ethic is bananas, you know.
Yeah,
I
you
go
touched on one of my questions about, how did the business side kind of change you, and you kind of given us a little bit of a platform as far as your work ethics or whatnot. But tell us a little bit more about, your record deal and those 2 years of that struggle and getting the your main hit out. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I mean, it was just I'm making money, you know what I mean? But it's just a frustration of people tell you, "Okay, we're gonna do something," and then they don't do it. That you know, the peanuts in the football, right? It's
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
again, again. And for me, because I was a DJ, I watched people and I watched artists, right? And I learned valuable lessons. I learned about the person I didn't want to be. And I didn't want to be the star who would come in the club, treat everybody like crap, and then um, you know, just think I was the greatest gift to everything because I had a hit record.
yeah,
I wanted to be the guy because I watched them rise and I watched them fall. And I watched everyone who they did wrong take glee in their demise. I said, I'll never be that dude because it's just not, first of all, it's not right. I wasn't raised that way. And then it's just stupid,
yeah,
and the first, just that time, it wasn't a struggle because we were making records. And it's not like I was really trying to be a star, but when people start telling you that, it's like, okay, everybody's telling me this. I know I could do it, but it's just not happening. But I got patience and I'm DJing, right? So I'm already a star. You know what I mean? I know all the athletes, I know all the politicians. I knew everybody in Atlanta back then because they all came to me. So it was never about that. And then when Whoomp There It Is first blew up, my father sat me down. He's like, I'm proud of you, but you know, he would tell me about when he was young and how he just stayed in school and grinded through school. But it was hard because he watched all his friends in the streets hustling, driving Cadillacs and having all the pretty girls and all that. And he's like, now I'm the one that got all the Cadillacs and they don't have nothing because I continued on. It says, it's the back end that counts. And, I remembered that. He said, this is going to end, right? Because I'm thinking I'm going to have hit records forever, but he's like, this is going to end. Don't chase it, right? Don't chase it because it'll destroy you.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I got you. And I listened to that.
Mhm.
And when I got to that point, it was nothing because I knew that I was still the same person before and after.
Mhm.
People still respected me and adored me, and I still had people. I was so accessible. I never acted like a star. I was
Yeah.
always still don't act like a star. Like I have one of probably the biggest records in the history of music, and one of the biggest commercials in commercials, right? And nobody still knows who I am, right?
Yeah.
People wouldn't even be able to pick me out. They're looking at my commercial every day and still can't because of the way I carry myself,
Mhm.
right? Now, if I'm walking around with, sunglasses, security, people just notice stuff like that. They're like, "Who's that?" And then
Mhm.
somebody's going to figure it out, and it's going to spread through wherever you're at.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens organically. Somebody like, I know him from somewhere, and by the thinking that, you do what you got to do, and then you're gone, and then it might
Mhm.
hit them later, right? But
Yeah.
I don't carry myself like a star. I love the work part of all of this,
Mhm.
right? And when everything we traveled the world for 4 or 5 years on Whoomp, there it is alone, and we had our struggles with the record company, but we got money, but it was just the record company went bankrupt,
Mhm.
and another record company snatched it out of bankruptcy, right? So now we got two record companies trying to tell us what to do, and
Yeah.
then it became a battle.
Mhm.
And instead of just being miserable about my situation and crying over spilt milk, I went back to what I knew, DJing. And it was very lucrative, but I was smarter. And I said, now it's time for my education. I do not want to go through what I went through again. And I know I'm not gonna, my career is stalled. So what can I do? And I just basically became paralegal. I said,
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna have my day in court. So let me gather all the discovery, organize all the contracts, make sure everything. And I'd already been doing this because I took a crack at the record company for us, at the in the beginning of all this, but I realized that the money I think I have that is long money is nothing compared to the long money that a record company has, right? And I learned that the hard way. So I said, just gather evidence, know when things are happening, know when motions are being made, all these things. So I could have came. I became a paralegal. I could have became a lawyer if I just went to school for it, right? Because that's what the education was. So I understood what was going on. So that's always in the background on the back. That's just underneath behind the curtain. But on the surface, I had to figure out what I was going to do. DJing was lucrative and it was fun, and I'm partying. I'm a young man, but I know there's got to be more. And I became a licensed commodities broker. I wanted to get into finance. I was like, I don't want to ever get taken advantage of money again, because I had opportunities when I had, Whoop, there it is, gave me so many opportunities that I didn't take, you know, wasn't able to, wasn't able to even see or understand or anything. And I just vowed to correct all those problems, right, in my life. And that's what made me start. It's like I was there at the beginning of Yahoo and all
Yep.
these things, right? I had an investment account, but I know what an investment account was. I thought an investment account was just a bank account, right? And my people were like, you can't spend that money like it's a bank. This is an investment account. We're about to start doing something. I'm like, and I just didn't listen. And it just I said, I have to know finance. That's the first thing. And then I became a licensed commodities broker. And then I started developing tactics on how to learn how to do things. And this was even when I was younger. Like my first tactics, I'll never forget it. a lady friend of mine was like, I can't find no job. I can't find no jobs. Like, I find you a job. You just being lazy. I drive around all day. I was like, no, that ain't how you find a job. I said, well, give me Yellow Pages. I said, what do you want to do? Where you want to work? What type of field you want to work in? And, she was like, well, dental assistant. All right. Open the book, find dentistry. Now, watch this. And I start calling. I said, hi, how you doing today? Just wanted to know if you're hiring. Oh, you are. Can I come fill out an application? Oh, you're not doing? Okay, cool. And, a lot of people are like, no, but there's going to be one person. Yep, girl just quit. It's like, can I come now? Yep, you come now. You got a job.
Wow.
You spent all day driving around and maybe went to 4 places, and you could be in a phone book and get to 100 places.
Yeah.
The time you spent to doing that, probably shorter time. And I tell people that, and they still don't do it. And I'm like, I'm just giving you the easiest way to do it. It's just a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
But people are stuck in their own stuff, right? And you know, that was one of my tactics. I always had a job, right? And then I wanted to have a hedge fund. Coming back to the financial thing, and I was like, I don't know nothing about a hedge fund though, so I'm trying to learn. But I'm like, okay, I know a hedge fund has a management system, so let me start calling around and find some, try to get some meetings with hedge fund managers. And because I'm DC the Brains Premium Tag Team, I can get into those rooms. So I think I had like 4 meetings. One was in New York, Vegas, LA, and San Francisco. And I'm flying all around the country to these meetings, and we get in the rooms, and they're like, "Hey, just we're big fans," and boom, boom, boom. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm putting together an investment group, and I know all the athletes, and I get you Dominique Wilkins, Primetime, Deion Sanders, and a lot of the rappers and all that, and I can control a lot of money. But why should I let you manage my hedge fund, right?" And they're like, "Okay, well, we do this, this, and this and that, and this and this and that, and we're the best at this and this, and then we pay great attention to this and that." And what they don't realize they're doing is that they're pitching me. But while they're pitching me, they're teaching me. And that is one of my just most famous tactics, is that whenever I want to try to find out something, I'll go to the horse's mouth, and I'll find whoever manages it, or whoever. It could be doing the books, it could be doing the accounting, it could be anything. Anybody who has any control over it, and learn from them what it is I want to do. And when I finished with all those meetings, I knew exactly what a hedge fund was. And I knew it wasn't for me, because that's just like intellectual gambling. And I was terrible at gambling. But what it did is it gave me a financial education in a week. Right?
That took most people 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
that is the key. And that's what I had always done. And I then I went to a financial planner. I was going to get some soap from this one place. And I looked, seen the Edward Jones across, and I went and was like, had a meeting with the person that was there. Her name was Amanda. And I was like, hey, you know, what do you guys do? Pitch me. Right. And she pitched me, and it made sense. And I was like, okay. She's like, what we're gonna do is you're gonna have a lot of little buckets. Because I see you have a corporation. I see you do this. I see you do that. We just take $300, $400 a month, and we'll fill all these little buckets. And buckets are in form of, SEP IRAs for your corporation, Roth IRAs, mutual funds, all these little buckets we're going to fill up with the $300 a month, take a little each and put them in each place, and just let them grow. And I was like, perfect. And I've been doing it. I've had the same account since 2000, probably 2001. And, you know, I'm straight, because I that money gets pulled and I don't even think about it.
Right.
Right. Just, sometimes I'll up it to 1,000, or sometimes I'll drop chunks in, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
then sometimes I've had to go and take it out,
Yeah.
right? And pay
Yeah.
the 10% penalty, right? So, but at least that's something that's always working.
Mhm.
And that worked for me. So as you know, it just I was trying to find more things. I'm like, well, since I'm in the clubs, this club, you know, let me figure out how I can be more.
Mhm.
And it wasn't like how I could be more. It's just I've always been a hustler. So I've always had 4 or 5 hustles in the whole compared to my main hustle.
Mhm.
So if I'm in a club and I'm selling, clothes or selling hand fans, or because I'm in a place where it's just nothing but cash, right?
Yeah.
If I got something, if I could meet a demand for something with supply, I'm gonna have a lot of money. I'm gonna have a lot of cash money, and I was the best at it in the clubs. And I was into it was a real big self help kick for me back in those days, which was like the 2000s, and I went through every book, Anthony Robbins, all of them, right, and all the courses. And this one book I cannot remember to this day, but I remember the story of a guy who wanted to have a pie company. So he goes and he works at a pie shop, and he's the busboy at the pie shop. Then he moves up. Now he's learning how to make the pies. He learns how the sausage is made, right? And he leaves, starts his own pie shop, then starts his own pie company, then franchises that pie company, and then sells it for a bunch of millions, right? And he called the process he called that was getting in the corridor. And
Mm.
I said, well, let me do that with this club I'm at. And I made a business plan. But I didn't know I thought business plan, you just write down some words and this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it.
Nope.
Uh-uh. And it was truly one of the hardest things I ever had to do, but it took me 6 months to do it.
Mhm.
And I filled out everything, all the projections, just had to learn the language on that,
Yeah.
right? Because there's a language with when learning how to put together a business plan. I don't know what this is. I mean, that's what I had business majors do, right? So I had a company called American Business Development. They helped me put it together, but they also helped me with my credit, and then became masterful at credit, right? So I always know how to manipulate and make sure my credit is on point. I know how to get it back if I mess it up, right? Because
Mhm.
you acquire discipline throughout your life, right? Enough hard knocks, you're not going to do the same thing again. And getting in the corridor for me was putting together a business plan on marketing. I wanted to do all your marketing, so I'd roll up there with a PowerPoint presentation and give my boss the presentation, and she cuts me a check for $25,000 because she was just so impressed that nobody had ever came to her that way. Everybody just comes talking.
Right.
And now I'm at the top of the food chain at a strip club that is so lucrative that I've got 7 streams of income, right? Because I'm not just a DJ. You know, I'm your sound guy, I'm your light tech, I'm your marketing manager. I do the radio spots, I do the flyers, I do the fashion photography with the girls, I do the TV ads, I do everything. I have life insurance, I have health insurance,
Mhm.
all in one entity, which is getting in the corridor.
And so you never had any business background, any mass media background, or anything. It was just basically learn as you go through your entire career.
I
Is that
call it,
correct?
yeah, what I call it is learning how to learn.
Yeah.
It's not enough to learn. That's what you get in school.
Right.
In life, you better learn how to learn, because there's so many more ways to learn something. And if you just learning, you're lumped in with everybody else who's just trying to learn, and you're kind of stuck, and you're
Mhm.
kind of in muddy waters because you got too many people trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But when you learn how to learn, you come up with a whole nother innovative way of learning that serves you and that's custom to only you.
Yeah.
And then that takes you in a lane and in a trajectory that people can't follow you
Mhm.
because you're the one that put in the work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
You're very specific.
yeah. Like perfect example, learn how to learn. If I get a long email, it's like, man, I don't feel like reading this email. You try to start, but then you start daydreaming. You start skipping over stuff. But I'm like, I'm not reading all that. Let me dump it into the AI. And I got software that reads to me and in a human voice.
Wow.
And now I'm checking the rest of my emails and that's reading to me. And then I catch them, wait a minute, really? Okay. And then I'm reading along with it while it's reading to me. I retain more,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's learning how to learn. I could take
Nice.
this whole podcast, dump it into my AI. It gives me a transcript, about 90% effective. You go through it. Now I got it on paper. Now I could take this transcript, and if you put it on YouTube, you can put this transcript into your description.
Mhm.
Now you have so many words in your description, and you have the right words in your description of what we're talking about. When Google spiders crawl through,
Yeah.
they know where to put your video, right?
That's
You learn
awesome.
how to
Yeah.
learn,
That's
right?
cool.
So
That's
that's
way
that's
cool.
that's what I do, and you know that had me complacent in the clubs. But then going back to Whoomp, there it is. We're still doing shows every now and then. We're doing NBA halftimes. We're doing NFL halftimes. Any little, quick hitters, but those are lucrative.
Mhm.
Those are from companies that got big money, so they're going to give us what we want and more.
Right.
And as time goes on, I'm still like, I have to figure something out other than DJing, even
Mhm.
though this is real lucrative. So, I go back. I started. I wanted to, I started taking voiceover lessons because I had been inspired by a record we did called Mickey Unwrap, a kids record we did for the kids back in like 95, 96. And, I'm in the deep bowels of Disney, teaching the voices of Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse how to rap. Once again, another opportunity that I'm in that don't even know where I'm at. I
Right.
don't even understand what's going on to me, right? I don't even understand the opportunity that stands in front of me. And I'm teaching Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse how to rap.
That's
And that's what
awesome.
got me. And we're talking about voiceover.
Right.
And that sparked my voiceover um, enthusiasm. But at the same time, um, it took 15 years for me to pull that trigger. So in 2009, I said, let me try voiceover. And I'm flying to New York to find the best coaches, going to LA, and I'm just round robin, Atlanta, New York, LA. And I'm training hard, training with the best. And I'm not getting it. And it's hard. And because I, make good money, because I've learned a lot, because I think I know what I'm doing, I think I could just whoop, there it is, my way through anything.
Yeah.
And this was one thing where I hit a brick wall and couldn't figure out, but I didn't give up. I just said, this is going to take a little longer, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And it took a while. And probably after a while, I stopped doing that and just found a coach in Atlanta and just kept training. And it was just about training and getting better at it. But meanwhile, 2011, I'm at work. I get a call. DC, you got to come to the front. You got a phone call. And I'm like, okay, I'm working. Why would you come? And she said she will not get off the phone. So I go to the phone. I said, please call me in the morning, this number. She was like, okay, I got to talk to you. I was like, okay. And the next morning, a reporter from the New York Times is calling me. And she's like, DC, you haven't seen it? I was like, what? She's like, the article by Gawker. Gawker is saying that that Barack Obama was in your Whoomp, There It Is video. I was like, nah. It was like, yeah. And she sent me the article and I was like, whoa. And then boom, everybody started calling me because she gave everybody the number. And we did press for a whole week, right?
Wow.
And I was like, how did you find me? She was like, over the hill and through the woods. It was hard, but I found you.
Mhm.
And we did CNN, we did all the major, we did everything in a week, but that was another opportunity lost because I couldn't take advantage of it because no one could find me.
Mm.
How am I going to do shows if they can't find me? How am I
Right.
going to, make opportunities if they can't find me? I know, I know Whoomp, There It Is now. By now, it's going to be a nostalgic forever hit record because I'm sitting in the movie theater and I'm looking at Will Ferrell dance on a table in the mailroom and Elf. Now I know
Yeah.
my song is evergreen, so now I know it's my responsibility to make my own money because I will always have a hit record because
Right.
they play it every year at Christmas,
Mhm.
plus commercials, all kind of stuff. And I was like, I got to correct that, and that's what started my SEO career,
Mm.
right? And I built the club's website and then started learning SEO, and it was brutal. right? I'm learning some of the hardest things that you can learn. I'm going through some of the hardest stuff that you can train for, right? Because voiceover, everybody's got 30 years on me. You know what I mean? SEO is hard because you're learning about algorithms and things that are innovating as we speak to this day. So it's a moving target. And it was just, all of it was so hard and so brutal. And it took a long time. And back then, if you typed in tag team, it was all wrestling. You
Yeah.
type in tag team today,
Mhm.
it's all tag team, right?
Nice. Yeah.
Be 10 years, man. But that, you know, I'm getting better at things. And I was like, I cannot be a 50-year-old DJ. And I retired from DJing in 2015. And I'm like, okay, what are we gonna do? Okay, I want to start doing shows now. We need to start doing more shows. And we need to, I'm gonna build our website, and I'm gonna just ride tag team for a while until I can figure out, till some of these other seeds turn into something that I can actually do as a career. And I started calling booking agents, and they were like, no, we can't. You guys only got one record. I'm like, one record? We only got one record. So I don't know if we, can put you on the roster. They gave me every excuse why they couldn't do something
Mhm.
instead of one, reason why they should.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, thank you. I didn't burn no bridge. I didn't get mad. I said, okay, cool. And I went, this is another learn how to learn moment. I said, you know what? I'm about to join the organization. And what's relevant about that is that organizations are filled with professionals that have been doing this for 10, 20, 30 years, that love their craft, that love their profession, and want to teach everybody else. So they create an organization so they can be, so they can help people who want to become a part of that organization or do what they're doing grow. And so
Right.
they have the resources, they have all the things you need to learn how to do it, right? And I joined the International Entertainment Buyers Association. And when it comes to concerts and entertainment in the music industry, you have a hierarchy. You have your buyers on top, then you have your venues, which could be anything. It could be stadiums, it could be um, arenas, amphitheaters. Then you have your big boy promoters, which is Live Nation, Ticketmaster, iHeartRadio. Then you have your mom and pop booking agents, and those are the people who I was trying to get on their roster, because I just wanted to get on their roster so I could get a link back to the tag team site I dropped. And then you have your managers, and then you have your artists. And me going into this organization, I went to their convention, 5,000 strong, me and Chubby Checker, the only black dudes there. I got a big giant Whoomp There It Is t-shirt on, billboarding. And I effectively cut out the middle. And I'm talking now directly to the buyers. And I got my pitch down on DC. Glenn, you might have heard the song Whoomp There It Is. I remember tag team. Oh my, I remember that song. Yeah. Well, we got a clean 90s nostalgia rap show. And I'm just trying, I'm just trying to meet people, and maybe it might be a good diverse add to your roster. Because all I'm trying to do is get on people's roster to get a link back to the site. Because I'm looking at, I'll type in certain artists and I just see all down the page that they got links for all these booking agents. So I said, I want to do that because that's how you get found.
Mhm.
And I start meeting people. Next thing you know, we're doing a state fair. We do a casino. We're doing a charity event. We're doing a fundraiser. We're doing a corporate event. Now we're doing all these different types of events in nickel and diamond because of my hustle,
Mhm.
because I thought differently, because I learned how to learn,
Right.
right? And now the thing that all these booking agents thought was a weakness is now a strength, because all they want us to do is Whoop There It Is. So I found the people, I found the demand,
Mhm.
and get, responded with the supply.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like I was hustling back in the clubs, right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? How all these
Yeah.
things start to trickle in. Like they always say, um, jack of all trades, master of none. It's like, DC, you got tentacles. You got doing too many things, DC. You're doing too many things. But if you live long enough and you hustle hard enough, you know, all these things come together and, you know, you become masterful at some of them trades.
Yeah,
Right. And they all
absolutely.
serve each other in one big ball. Right.
Yeah.
And one serves another one. You don't know what comes back to help you that you went through in life.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I always play offense. I was like, it's not a quid pro quo. It's about just offense, 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 right? So now we're doing shows, and then all of a sudden, you know, 2010, they got a court date. So now these two record companies are about to go to battle, and we're in the middle. And the record company that took it out of bankruptcy lost. And then for the next 5 years, they appealed and appealed and appealed and appealed and appealed. And their last appeal was in 2015 to the Supreme Court. Can you imagine if you looking at the news and today the Supreme Court takes on the Whoomp, there it is, tag team case, right? Can you imagine that? But they were like, get that thing out of here. We're not dealing with that. And
Well, and you guys are, you know, you're just waiting. I mean, that's
we're
going
waiting,
to
and then we're
be.
being played. We're being, you know, our career is basically stalled, and we're never
Yeah.
making, you know, making music has passed us by. And you know, the thing I remember the most is that they were going to try to, well, if we lose, you know, it's one of the things where if I can't have it, can't nobody have it. So that's when it was time for me to go to court. I went and found, had to find lawyers. And when I found a lawyer, they got a big box of everything that had happened to that point, organized, filed perfectly. Cases, old cases, everything. And they came up with 6 or 7 different ways to win, and we prevailed.
Nice.
And not without cost, you know,
Mm.
traumatized. Well, you lose an arm, you lose a leg, you got an eye patch, but you're living and you're free of all that.
Yeah.
And I just went into a deep depression because it was the realization, like, what are you gonna do? And I laid in the bed for a month, August 2017. Just, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And I get a call like, DC, they want to, you know, we would like to use you for our company, industrial. We want to, you know, we want to book you. And it's like, we got $10,000 for you. It's like, I know what I'm gonna do. And it was voiceover. Because I didn't give up for voiceover, it came and it saved me.
Yeah.
Right. And because, you know, I had to spend a lot of money on lawyers for that to win that case. Right. And
5 years.
yeah. And it's crazy because um I started working with Apple Radio in 2014, 15, and then I retired from DJing. I was still working at Apple Radio. So I was getting money in voiceover here and there. But that big one let me know that this is what it's gonna be. And then I end up signing my voiceover coach, People Store Company, called us like, you got any African American talent? She was like, I got the perfect guy. And they signed me instantly. So now I'm signed with the biggest talent agency in the Southeast for voiceover, all at the same time of getting the voiceover. And then I book kind of like instantly, and I'm up there having a meeting with them, and the owner comes in and she's like, I like your face. Put him on camera. And I'm like, put him on camera. Like, yeah, you be, you know, because I wanted to kind of act now. And it was like, I was asking him about, you know, extra roles. It was like, nah, put him on camera all the way. So camera all the way is commercial and theatrical, right? Commercial is for commercials, and theatrical is for movies and television. Now I'm auditioning. They're like, what do you got to do? What I got to do? I'm like, what do I have to do? And they're like, well, headshots, and you have to take acting classes. And the first couple of acting classes, I was hooked. Then I was in class every day, sometimes 2, 3 times a day, every workshop, flying to LA, flying to New York, training. And I did that till the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And I was booking regional and local stuff, but I was still making money booking. But I hadn't got that national yet. I wanted that national, but acting was way more brutal than voiceover. But I stayed in class. I trained, and trained. And the pandemic hit and it just stopped me. It stopped. The pandemic was, I can tell you the pandemic is special because it stopped everybody in their tracks at the same time. And people always think, I'm hustling, I'm hustling. You hear people say that all the time. I'm grinding, I'm doing this, I'm working hard. And a lot of people are sitting in their car driving and they're revving the engine, but they look outside, they're not going anywhere. It's
Mhm.
like, and that's what that forced me, people to see. Like, I'm not going anywhere. Why? Because you're stuck in mud. Your wheels are spinning. And I just reinvented myself. I said, I'm going to reinvent myself. I said, what, because you asked the question, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What am I going to do? And I'm like, you know what? Can't do shows, can't do this, can't do that. Voiceover. And every class that I took, I recorded. And there are drives and everything all over the place. And I found everything, organized it, and then listened to my first lesson back in 2009. I had to listen to my 10-year ago self. And it was heartbreaking because I was a different person and just listened to my conversations and how I was, just how I was very, very hard to hear. And, you know, I realized I was the one getting in my own way. I thought it was the coaches that weren't training me right because I couldn't get voiceover. And then I heard my first voiceover off a script and it was just horrific. It was so cringeworthy. But at the same time, it was inspiring because I understood what they were saying to me because I not only as I stuck with it, but now I'm an actor. Now I'm in acting class for 2.5 years. Now I understand the language. And it goes
Mhm.
back to the financial thing, watching CNBC, not knowing what I'm looking at, to watching CNBC knowing exactly what they're talking about, right? In every aspect of everything I do. So now I'm like, I could do this over. Let me do this over and take their notes. And I do it over and it's angelic because for the first time I have mastery over my voice in a way that I've never had it. And I did this for the month of, March 2020, when we all thought that we were all going to turn into zombies and people were going to start eating us. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that how every movie starts with what we went through last year, the first couple months? It was like, oh my God, everybody was so scared, right? And it just fun. I just put my head down and I went through 42-hour sessions of voiceover classes.
Wow.
And I came out the other end just seasoned, right? And then the month of April comes and my LA acting coach calls me. He's like, I'm casting this movie. Nebraska's open. They say, you come up here and shoot. And can you get to Nebraska? I was like, yep. And I shot my first movie in Nebraska in a pandemic.
Nice.
Right. And then, I shot my second movie in the summer in the middle of Georgia in a pandemic.
Hmm.
Before the pandemic, I booked a national Pizza Hut commercial. First big time commercial I ever booked. I booked this commercial after 2.5 years of training because I switched my game up, right? How I auditioned. And it worked. Well, the first time it worked. And now I'm about to be in a national Pizza Hut commercial, but you know, everybody started turning into zombies and there was no March Madness, right? So that was over. But I was happy. I
Yeah.
wasn't mad that I lost almost $100,000
Wow.
potentially. I was happy that they booked me. I got
Mhm.
booked out of 3,000 people, right?
Wow.
National commercial is going to be 3,000 people that go out for that. Then they got to whittle it down.
Mhm.
I learned the whole hierarchy of how that whole situation works. That's when I was like, instead of the fearing auditions, I was like, I'm trying to get as many auditions as I can because I know that it's a numbers game. The more auditions,
Mhm.
the more chances you have to book something. So I can't wait to get an audition. And I auditioned, did it, and then I did the second movie, and then I booked the Publix ice cream commercial for a voiceover. Then I booked the Tyler Perry House of Pain episode. This all in 2020, and then here comes GEICO.
Yeah.
right? And the Geico story is interesting because Geico calls me on a tag team phone because we got a number on the website, dedicated phone line, and I don't answer the phone. I don't answer the tag team phone. Stay in the corner gathering dust when we charge half the time. And
It's
my
a rotary phone.
yeah, it's a rotary phone. Oh, it's funny because so then I get a call from my agent. Geico wants to book you, right? You booked a Geico commercial, and I'm like, why are you playing with me? I haven't even auditioned for a Geico commercial. She's like, you booked for a Geico commercial, and what happened is Geico called, left a message, and then they went online and found my IMDb profile, which is for acting.
Mhm.
So these are all the breadcrumbs I've laid, and then they found me. They found my agent, and my agent uh calls me, and then that's how it happened. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna let my agent make the deal because this is what they do.
Right.
And I'm not gonna have to get lawyers. I'm not gonna do it. All I gotta do is say, I'll let them do it. So because let them make their commission. And now you got people who you trust in your corner that care about you. They're working the deal. And we bought in everybody, had a big meeting. I had to tell them the whole saga, like I'm telling you. And they were like, okay, the owner was like, okay, we got it. Tell them this is what we want. And that's it.
Wow.
And they dealt with all that, and it is the most lucrative deal that I've ever made in my life. This Geico commercial. And everybody's like,
Well,
you happy you had a Geico commercial? And I was happy for 2 days, right? And then I knew I had to work because usually you get a Geico commercial. Salt and Pepper did theirs in 2014, and
mhm,
they started touring and didn't stop till the pandemic. But I know we're not going to tour,
mhm,
right? So I just dove into the actor part of it. And I said, I'm going to prepare like this is the biggest movie role of my life.
right.
And, I used the same tactics I did with the pizza commercial. I said, I'm gonna come up with 6 or 7 things that I hash out that I want in this commercial to make it great. Right. My coach would give me, she gave us this analogy. She's like, if you get invited to a party, what are you going to bring? Some people are going to bring cheese and crackers. Some people are going to bring a bottle of wine. Some people are going to bring a casserole. And I'm like, not me. I'm bringing an ice sculpture. I'm bringing 2 turntables and a microphone. I'm bringing my records. I'm bringing a barbecue. I'm bringing a jumping gym for the kids.
Mhm.
And I'm bringing a karaoke machine. And you will remember DC the Brain Supreme was at this party. And that's how I approach everything in acting and voiceover and just now in life.
Mhm.
And you have to make yourself rememberable. You have to make yourself invaluable. And I said, okay, I want to spin and scoop. I know kids love sprinkles. Got to figure out a way to use sprinkles. So LeBron James, old LeBron James with this chalk at the scorer's table. He throws up before he goes in the game. Salt-based sprinkles and just throwing sprinkles everywhere. There's a dance we do in the Southeast. Do that so everybody in the Southeast is like, man, they really represented the South. And then just ask the director, can we do all this? And we have our production meeting the night before, and I go to I'm like, I got some ideas. You mind? He's like, man, anything you want to do, DC. I was like, cool. And he's like, I got it. I wanted to do a spin and scoop. I tried to find somebody to fabricate it. I couldn't. So we're not gonna be able to do that, but I got other ideas. And he's like, no, it'll be done tomorrow. I was like, word.
Wow.
Okay. Then I told him all my ideas, and we shot all day. We shot everything. And because I prepared the spinning scoop, everybody loves that. The little dance, everybody loves that because we're having fun. Everybody loves, the chocolata, which was kind of a accident on the fly, the director and us. And everybody loves sprinkles.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't prepared, exactly, if I hadn't prepared, those wouldn't been in the commercial. It might
Yeah.
have been a good commercial, but sprinkles is what does it. The
Mhm.
combination with, the father busting his move, the mother with the arms, and Amethyst, just the young teenagers like, I can't do this. Let me get
Yeah.
out of here. Right. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yeah.
everybody, there's something that everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
And now we shoot it, we have a good time. And now I know, how am I gonna make this work for me? How I'm gonna take these lemons, which the pandemic has given me, and make a lemonade company. This is my mindset. I got these lemons. I'm not gonna sit back. I'm gonna make a lemonade company. I'm gonna franchise it. I'm gonna sell it for $1 billion. That's my mindset. And I was like, let me blow up acting and voiceover because that's what I do now. So that's what I've been successful for this year. Blow that up. And I went and tried to find a publicist. And every publicist did the same thing when I went to find a booking agency. Well, you don't really know how. It's a pandemic. We usually do a junket and send you to New York and go around robin with the journalist and boom, 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 boom. I was like, they gave me every reason why they couldn't instead of one reason why they should. But I appreciated it. I said, thank you. And I went and joined the organization, the Public Relations Society of America, PRSA, right? Join PRSA. 2 days in, I'm on a Zoom call, right, with this big CEO of this PR firm. And I raised my hand because I'm doing my due diligence through this whole, from the lead up to the commercial, getting the press releases ready. I want to do a press release. I want to do this. I want to do that. I asked, are press releases still relevant? I know they are, but I just want to ask the question just to get the validation from, or get it from the mind of a person who's been doing this for 40 years, who's big in the game. And they're like, well, what's it for? And I'm like, well, I'm kind of featured in this GEICO commercial called Scoop There It Is. And I'm looking at the chat and I'm like, wait a minute, that can't be him. Is it? Oh my God, it's him. I love that commercial. And I blew up the whole Zoom meeting with the commercial.
Right.
And now everybody's talking about the commercials, not even thinking about public relations, right? And then the moderator sees this. She's like, we'd like to welcome DC to this organization. We're going to talk about that GEICO commercial afterward, DC. But back to your question, our press release is important. And the lady was like, heck yeah, they're important because the whole last year has been COVID, right? It's been doom and gloom. It's been everybody fighting each other. It's been, everybody's divided. It's been, and then you guys come with a feel-good story about ice cream. Everybody's used you can only watch so much Netflix. Everybody's used up all their content because they can't shoot again. Like, these are all the things that are going in my head now. Why?
Right.
And she's not only that, you need to go here to get in front of all the journalists. You need to go here to get in front of all the talk shows. You need to go here to get in front of all the podcasts and radio shows. You need to make sure your pitches are like this. You need to do this, and this goes back to, she gave me the whole entire game. This is another learn how to learn moment, because my first one was you make them pitch you while they teach you. But this is join the organization because it's full of people who have been doing it forever, and they can't wait to spill their guts on how to do things because they see somebody that puts a sparkle in their eye that's hustling so hard, they gotta give them the game. She gave me the game in 10 minutes.
Wow.
I haven't looked back, and it has opened up doors for me that I never thought imaginable. And it is the reason you and I are talking right now. Because I didn't give up. I thought differently. I hustled. And I just didn't take no. And I've got 3-4 things that I would love to talk to you about my future, but I can't because I've signed non-disclosure agreements.
Oh, wow.
That's how much this PR, that's how much me switching from, oh man, I can't get shows, to I'm gonna make a lemonade corporation out of these lemons.
Right.
Make something happen. Now my future is secure.
Yeah.
Right. And then I dropped the press release 4 days before the Super Bowl on a Wednesday. Thursday, I get a call from the Dan Patrick Show. Friday, I'm on a Dan Patrick Show, right? Just like that.
Yeah.
2 weeks from then, I'm on Tamron Hall Show, daytime ABC, national audience. Boom, here go.
Wow.
And now it's to the point where I do 4 or 5 of these a day, and I do it because you got to throw yourself out there, and you never know who you're going to meet. And I did one with a Hollywood actress who turned into, a podcaster. And then I started getting calls from people that want me, that think I have a PR firm. Are you taking clients right now? Right.
Oh, wow.
Everybody thinks I'm a PR firm.
Nice.
Just because I got perfect example. I called a media coach, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm trying to find booking agents for TV talk shows, right? And she was like, started, we talking, and she was like, so nice to meet you. And we start talking, and she was like, you don't even need me. Just from the first 10 words you come out of your mouth, you don't even need me, because she trains CEOs and people who don't know how to talk in front of camera.
Uh-huh.
Trains people who, she knows the whole game. She's been doing it for a long time. And we had a good hour conversation, and she was just so fascinated. She was
Yeah.
like, you kept saying, you don't need me.
Wow.
I was like, okay, cool. I appreciate that. I just glad you're talking to me. She's like,
Mhm.
I'm glad I'm talking to you too, because I'm learning so much,
Yeah.
right? So that was about a month ago. This week she sends me an email. She was like, you inspired me so much. And some of the things you told me were so innovative. I had to use them with my clients. And she made me a 12-minute video of all the things we talked about in our conversation, and just related to her clients. Like, perfect example, in Tamron Hall, there was a delay, and I didn't quite know how it worked. There's always a 2-second delay, and you're not supposed to look at her talk. And I was looking at her talk, but I'm all confused. But so then I can't really, I had everything prepared. I had all my pitches. I had how I wanted to impose my will. I had all these things ready, but I got thrown off. But because the backside and the foundation was laid of me, with SEO and changing all the Wikipedia pages and making sure all our information was accurate and making sure they had everything they needed. Because she's the professional she is, she created such beautiful narratives for me. I didn't have to do anything.
Wow.
She said that was pivotal. She said that was brilliant, because he prepared on before and on the back end and gave them the narrative, and she took it, and she was so professional. It was the phoenix rising from the ashes, the story of redemption of tag team. Tag team gets emotional of their success, right? Right. All these beautiful narratives. I took them and ran with it, right?
Wow.
But she recognized it, and just blow after blow, blow after blow after blow. She had been watching me and was so inspired that she made me a video, and it just blew me away, man. And those are the things that validate your hustle,
Yeah.
right? And now I'm in a good place. You know what I'm saying? The SEO, the SEO has just been incredible for me, because it has allowed me to be in front of everybody, the world,
Mhm.
right? And the press release not only got me press, but the press release really was for SEO, because I dropped that press release and got 300 entities to pull that and put it on wherever that your newscast, wherever, in
Mhm.
306 hours.
Wow.
So that's 300 do follow links back to the tag team site.
Right.
Now the tag team site's a nuclear powered engine that can fuel anything I want to do for the rest of my life.
That's a great way of generating your traffic, and just like you said,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that
yeah. I rank for
the
every keyword I want,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
it all
yeah,
came together
yep,
through the press release. That press
yeah.
release came back, it gave me 100-fold of what I paid for it.
Mhm.
And now, you know, everything is just, everything is to the point where I'm working harder now than I've ever worked, but I have to, because everything is preparation.
Right,
See, I can't control what's going to happen to me, but I can control what I do. And
right.
I choose to prepare for all the things that come my way.
Mhm.
Not necessarily to do everything, because my voiceover coach, he's like, man, you can't do everything. You just want to I was like, yeah, I can't do everything, but I can be prepared for every opportunity that comes my way.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's just training, right? So now I train every day. And it's funny, because of the pandemic, half the teachers went back to school. Half the teachers like, I'm not going back to school with them nasty ass kids, right?
right.
And what they did was they went and joined uh tutor sites,
Oh, wow.
right? There's a
Yeah,
site called wyzant.com, WYZANT. I wore it out during the pandemic. I'm learning music theory, music production. I want to start making songs again. I've learned little things that I didn't know about video editing and all that. You've got commercials. You might have somebody at Harvard Music School or Harvard or Juilliard teaching you music theory.
Yeah.
And they're doing it in a custom. And not only what the reason it works so well is because I know this excites me, so I'm all over the place, but I'm learning a new DAW called Studio One. For those who know what a DAW is, it's basically the 4-track of, it's a computer program that you play your music in or that you make music in. And like Pro Tools. So it's equivalent of Pro Tools. I have the engineer who built this software training me every Tuesday now.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he's such a great tutor because everything is custom to me working. So we just started. I was like, I just want to know the DAW. Start with work, or I do auditions every day. How can I make my auditions sound better? And everything is custom to me. So now I'm going at my own pace and I'm learning and preparing. And now I'm making beats again.
Yeah.
Right? Touched a drum machine in 20 years. And
Wow.
now I'm making beats again because that part doesn't leave you.
Mhm.
DJ part doesn't leave you. The making song part doesn't leave you. I'm more creative now than I've ever been. Right.
Yep.
And YZN.com, each time I get stuck, I go get a tutor. I learn it 2 sessions. Now I'm done.
That's
Learn
amazing.
how to learn.
That's
right?
amazing. No, that is, I mean, your story of perseverance and taking the indirect way of connecting with people is pretty amazing. And how you you said you haven't, you've worked the hardest you're working right now. I mean, I look at you're working smarter, not harder. I mean, the way you have things so branched out, but like you said, like zipped together like a zipper. It's just so
Yeah.
amazing of your
I play
story.
offense.
Yeah.
It's just nothing but offense. I keep pressing, right? Because you don't plant a seed, then sit down, cross your legs, and look at the seed and say, "Come on, seed, grow.
Yeah.
Grow, seed, grow. Come on, man. This seed ain't growing, man. Why don't this seed grow? Man, this seed don't grow. I quit." That's not how it works. But
Mm-mm.
I'm sure you know a lot of people that's their approach to everything.
Yeah.
It's a quid pro quo. If I do this, this has to happen. If it don't happen, it wasn't worth doing.
Mhm.
That has never been my approach. My approach is you plant the seed, you keep going.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? That seed will take care of itself.
Yeah.
It's in dirt. It's organic. It's going to get watered. It's going to be a part of nature, right? You don't have to worry about it. And I planted so many seeds in my life, directly or indirectly. You don't know when that seed's going to come back and hit you in the face, right?
Right.
And I planted so many seeds that I stand before you today in a forest of opportunity. And it is my responsibility to be prepared and not lose these opportunities I lost when I was a young man. Just like it's my responsibility to talk to people and anybody who's willing to listen and tell them the things that I've learned the way I wish someone had did me when I was a young man. Like my mother and father raised me beautifully, but my father can't tell me about the ins and outs and snakes of the music industry.
Mhm.
They're going to take advantage of you. And at early in the whole Whoomp There's process, I took advantage. I took advantage. I took responsibility for my mistakes.
Yeah.
And the sooner you do that, you're good. Because I love to be wrong.
Mhm.
Because being wrong, admitting when you're wrong, and even liking to be wrong, I love it because it's the path to being right. One.
Right.
And two, it is a ego pride killer
Mm.
instantly, because now you're in an argument and you're like, you know what? I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong. Just say you're wrong, and the
Yeah.
argument is over. But most people keep arguing and arguing, and they go down rabbit holes, and then they're making up stuff, and then next thing you know, they think they've won the article when they've actually lost because they believe the crap that they was telling you.
Yeah.
And now they live by it. And now they're lost because they always got to win an argument. And not me. I'm okay, you won, right?
Yeah.
Or people will give me excuses. I love when people give me excuses, right? This is one of the ways indirectly dealing with things.
Yeah.
Well, I can't do that because of this. And I was like, you know what? Thank you for those excuses, because for every excuse you've just given me, I can come up with 5 solutions, put it in my toolbox, and when that scenario comes my way, I can deal with it effectively.
Yeah, and then peace out.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? It's like
yeah,
everybody always gives me excuses why they can't do something.
yeah.
And I used to be, hey, I do it too. Still do
Hmm.
it sometimes. But
Yeah,
I might react viscerally and I might give excuses for what I didn't do, but I am listening to you. Like my buddy, one of my corporate buddies, he was like, man, I wonder how much they playing that GEICO commercial. And I was like, I know they playing it a lot. He's like, man, you got to get the data. I was like, man, what do you mean? He's like, you got to get the data,
hmm,
GEICO, so you'll know. And I'm like, man, I'm not about to ask GEICO for nothing. I'm not about to mess my relationship up with them to ask them for data. Give me the data, GEICO, right? But then I reacted viscerally, but I'm thinking, yeah, that makes sense, what he's saying. How'd you do it? And I'm like, well, there is, if GEICO's getting it from somewhere, go to the people that GEICO get it from. Then you ain't got to ask GEICO.
hmm.
See how that problem turned into a
Yep,
solution? That
yep.
excuse turned into a solution.
It's just a
So
different perspective for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
perspectives. I said, who would do that? iSpot TV, Nielsen, and a couple others that gather data for television. So I reach out to all of them in a week. I'm basically in a boardroom with Nielsen, iSpot TV, and all of them. And they're all telling me their Whoomp, there it is story and how big of fans they are. And then iPod TV says, I've never seen an artist do what you're doing. And I do these commercials all the time. And I have your data for you already. And what we want to do is we want to have a commercial. So I said, because I'm doing this to find my value proposition.
Hmm.
Just in case I go into these deals and they're like, well, the GEICO commercial was cool, but what have you done for me lately? And I'm like, wow, this is what
Yeah.
I've done. You know, this were the conversions. This was the
Hmm.
happy index. This is how many times that it was around on DVR. This is how many YouTube views it has. This is how many impressions it has. Pay me my money.
Yeah.
And they
That's
said,
some
we're
good
going to do that
stats
for you.
behind it, backing
Yeah,
it
yeah.
up. Yeah.
And she said, I want to do an interview. We're going to make you a presentation in the form of a commercial. And if somebody needs your value add, you just give them this link and they'll have everything they need.
Oh wow. That's awesome.
Right. Nielsen was like, well, it's going to cost this. And I was like, okay, thank you. That's a little high for me. They're like, no. But we have aggregate companies that pull the same data from us and they're 80% less of the cost. So we're going to hook you up with them. Then I'm having meetings with them and they're like, when you're ready, just call us, tell us, and we'll put together something custom made for whatever scenario you're a part of. And that will help you get your deal. So now I've effectively, that's something that because of a conversation, because I listen now more than ever. I might react, but I get out of my way and I put my pride and ego is sequestered so deep because I think differently.
Hmm.
Now I can see an opportunity in everything I do every day of the week, whether it be arguing, whether, they say, you don't want to be around negative people. Yes, I do. Because those negative people they give me so many problems. So many people that I love the most are the most, negative. Your family's gonna be like, why are you doing? When I told everybody I wanted to be an actor, everybody gave me every reason why I couldn't.
Yep.
Right. And they should know me better. Right. They should know that everything that I've wanted to do, I've been able to achieve. But
Yeah.
I've acquired the ability over my lifetime to take any negative emotion, envy, despair, anger, hatred, you know what I'm saying, suffering. I'm sounding like Yoda. And I put it in my pocket. Let's take it and put it in my pocket and I use it for another time. I use it for
Yeah.
later. And I use it for fuel. It turns into positive energy.
Hmm.
Right. If I have 4 auditions and I need to go somewhere deep in sadness, pull it out of my pocket and now it's there.
Yeah.
And in acting, that's what it's all about because you have these experiences in your life that, now I don't have to figure out the character or be a caricature because of this thing I have in my pocket. Now the character becomes me
Yeah.
in an organic, authentic way. And that's what makes great actors,
Yeah.
right? Learn how to use things in different scenarios and combinations to serve me to accomplish certain things. And it just gets better and better. But that's why I do all these podcasts, man, because you've given me a gift of just running my mouth and coming up with ideas and saying things in different ways that
Yeah.
spawn ideas,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the pandemic, we're all in the Serengeti. We are all in the Serengeti together. What are you going to be? Predator, or are you going to be prey?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I choose to just eat healthy like a lion. I'm going to
Yeah.
hunt. I'm going to track things down. I'm going to be stealth. I'm going to do all these things to get what I need to nourish myself. And everybody that's sitting around waiting for it to come back the way it used to be is going to be sitting around waiting for it to come back the way it used to be. And it's not coming back because we're standing in a new frontier. Everything is brand new.
Yeah.
Think about
Yeah.
how many paradigms have shifted because of the pandemic that aren't going to go back to the way they were. From us being on Zoom to just everything.
Well, yeah, you
And
mentioned like education, how that's
yeah,
revamped already. And I mean,
yes,
the way that, I mean, when you're talking, sorry to interrupt, but like the reinventions that you've created for yourself and the opportunities that you have laid out, it's just so impressive. And that's the thing I definitely would take away from this podcast, is what you could teach these kids or anybody listening to this podcast to look at things in different perspective. Do take those negative people, because I agree with you. I was like, I didn't want to be around negative people, but those are some of the times and so some of the things you need to hear.
they offer so many nuggets because it's an opportunity to take that negativity and turn it into positivity.
Yeah. Yep.
Think of how many times you do. I mean, people do stuff to you for spite,
Mm-hmm. Just to get a reaction out of you.
just to get a reaction out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Flip that, and you're doing it out of spite to them
Yeah.
by taking their negativity, placing it away. Don't let them see you react,
Right.
and then using it to fuel your desires and your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So when your desire and they're not going anywhere, they're still going to be there. But when your desires and dreams come to fruition,
Yeah.
and you're talking to them and they're sitting there proud of you, they have to look you in your eye
Mm-hmm.
and know they did you wrong and know they were negative to you. And that's enough, right? That they have to look you in the eye. And it's not about revenge or,
Mm-mm.
it's not about any of that. It's just about you could not, it's more for me, it's about thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for being you.
Yeah.
Because if you weren't you, I probably wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to flip things and switch things and hash out different scenarios and come up with formulas, but not expect anything of it.
Yeah.
Right? If I do the big, I'll throw stuff out there. Like I want to be in the Mandalorian. I want to be in the Star Wars universe. So Dave Leone or John Favreau, if you're listening, you need to come get me
Yeah.
because I can do this. I do that with national commercials because I'm not expecting anything, but I know things happen. I know that one of his assistants might go to him, but like I heard tag team on a podcast, DC. He was like, he can do this. He was
Mm-hmm.
like, he's the guy that did the Scoop There It Is commercial. He's like, really? My kids love that commercial. Go to my kids like, hey, would you guys like to see the guy from Scoop There It Is Sprinkles being
And the Mandalorian.
work with him? And then they were like, yeah, we love that dude. And I set up a meeting with his agent. And
Nice.
now I'm talking to John Favreau and Dave Leone discussing how I can be in the Mandalorian or any Star Wars event. Now, is that going to happen? Is that far-fetched? Of course. But I'm not doing it to get something back. I'm just
Yeah.
throwing it out in the universe and I'm moving to the next thing.
Right.
It's a seed that's been planted. If it grows, it grows. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But some of those seeds are going to grow.
Yeah.
And you just
And
have to be prepared for them when they come back and hit you in the head.
Yep.
And
That's the one thing I can say from what I've also learned from this podcast is just, your humbleness is so inspiring. For how many times you've been turned down, how many times people have said no, and you didn't take you didn't take it personal. I feel like we're reading, the 4 agreements, where you just didn't take anything personal. You were impeccable with your word, and you kept going forward with what you're doing. And then not only that, like I said, going back to reinventing yourself, and then taking everything as service to others, to helping others, and
yeah,
every opportunity
every
is
opportunity.
so humility of everything of what we need in this world. Like you said, going back to the pandemic, that's what I'm just hoping people can take away, just that in itself.
Yeah.
So
It's funny
man,
because your whole premise from the beginning was, what can you teach young cats, right? And a lot of young cats come to me and say, man, DC, put me in the game, man. I want to be a star. I want to be in the music industry. I'm like, man, first of all, I don't rap no more. I don't know what you've been thinking. You think I don't do that no more. But if you're serious, I'm gonna give me your email and I'll send you a file. And then that file is a book and I want you to read. And if you read that book, or if you can't read, don't want to read, I got a video in there for you. Call me back when you're done with that, right? And I can tell you 98% of people don't call me back,
Hmm.
right?
Missed
And
opportunity.
and for the 2% that do, I have a army veteran from Afghanistan. He called me and he's like, "Man, I just love to rap. I don't know anything I'm doing. I just want to get in the game. You know, it helps me with my post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, I just need some advice." I was like, "All right, give me an email. I'm gonna send you a book. Read that book, then get back with me." Because my time is valuable. I'm not about to waste my time trying to tell you everything you need to do because you won't do it. I know you won't do it. And he reads the book, calls me a month later. It's like, "Okay, I read the book, but there's some things I don't understand, man." It's like, "Cool, that's fine. At least I know you tried." And then I tell him what the book is about. And he was like, "Man, okay, I get it." So the part when you were talking about, and then we're talking about what he didn't understand, but he read it. So
Mhm.
I know he read it because now we're talking about it. Now he understands it. And he's like, "Okay, but how does this fit in the scheme of things?" And I was like, "I just made it possible for you not to ever be taken advantage of in the music industry.
There you go.
That's what this is.
Lesson
That's my
learned.
gift, right?
Yeah.
And now you know what to do. You know what to look for." I said, "What I've done is I've given you the back end first, right? I've given you after you've had all the cars, women, the cars, and the money, and now your record is fading, and you're trying to figure out what the heck are you going to do. I've given you the back end first, which is music publishing. If you're on your own music publishing, you can have a mediocre record and make money off of it forever,
Mhm.
right? So because I taught you taught you music publishing, you will never be taken advantage of, right? You'll know what lawyers are talking to you about. You'll know what music industry cats are talking to you about because they know what they're doing. They know you don't know about. They know these young kids don't know about music publishing. Everybody goes through what I went through,
Mhm.
right? It's just who can withstand it and get to the next and keep making good music till they get their good contract, right?
Right.
And that's my responsibility. Most cats be like, "Man, the young cats done messed up hip hop. They owe us, they need to pay homage to us and blah, 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 and blah." I was like, "Man, first of all, I can't hate on young people for being young. Second of all, you sound old and bitter. And third, they don't even know how to get in contact with us. They wouldn't even
Yeah.
know how to because they weren't even born back then,
Mhm.
right? Like you're looking at it the wrong way. It's like we should be helping them, right? What I do is I learn what they know and put it in my pocket. So if I have to be able to adapt to them, I can. But that comes from DJing. And I have this argument all the time. It's like, okay, so when you were coming up and you were a young man and you were making your music or DJing or what have you, were you going back in time and trying to find Chubby Checker and Isaac Hayes and Marvin Gaye and making music like them? No,
No.
we're making hip hop. It was
Yeah.
different. It was a different time. It was a different age.
Yeah.
So why do they got to do that to us? You're being hypocritical.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're right. You're right. And I've changed the mind, right?
Mhm.
I've changed a whole bunch of minds because he has a podcast just railing on young people. I'm like, it destroyed your whole podcast,
Yeah.
the whole premise of it, because that's not how you do it, right?
Mhm.
So that's my contribution to young cats. Now, if they want it, they can have it. If they don't, because we go to the next thing. And as you recognize in this podcast, I have 1,000,000,001 ways to skin a cat. And there are all kind of ways that I can help people. It's just about thinking different. A friend of mine, she's like, "I want to do a laundromat." "Oh, this laundromat. Just want to do a laundromat." I was like, "Do you know anything how to do a laundromat?" And she's like, "No." I was like, "All right, that's what I'm gonna do for you." And I went to Laundromat Association of America, called them. I said, "Well, I got a friend. She want to do the laundry." She's like, "We'll take care of her. She'll know everything she needs to know after she goes through this, just goes through all the resources." Got every resource. Got people who can tell her from point A to point B how to start a laundromat, be successful at it, and then or might even be able to buy into a laundromat franchise, right? So I said, "I'm gonna do this for you, and I'm gonna see what you made of." because you say you want to do something, but do you really want to do it?
Right.
Right. And
And do it
that's
day
why
in and day out.
do it day in, day out, right?
Yeah.
People talk a lot, and I always
Mhm.
call their bluff, right? I'm like, join this organization. So like, I gotta go, man. But if I can leave everybody with one thing, especially like, I gotta tell this story. Old high school people, mates, uh, when I was a senior, they were freshmen. They called me. They're like, DC, we want you to give some wise words to the graduating class this year. Just, what you would tell your young self. And it turned into a dang podcast. I was supposed to give a couple lines. It turned into an hour worth of just a master class of some, it just turned into that. And because they were so just amazed at what I was saying. And I was like, if I were to tell my young self, I would say join an organization on anything, your goals and your dreams, right? And back then, I would have joined a real estate organization because I knew real estate was big. And it's always been big. Real estate is always big, but as you get older, it just it's something that you think is insurmountable.
Yeah.
But when you're young, you join an organization, you can learn in 2 weeks, where it will take you a long time to learn. You
Mhm.
can go join an organization and learn in 2 weeks what it would take you a college education to learn.
Mhm.
And you're going to be learning from people who went to college and learned it
Yeah.
and now do it and can tell you what not to do. So now you don't got to flail.
Yeah.
So that's my advice to anybody who's listening to this. Whatever your passion is, whatever you want to do, now's the time. There's an organization out there, and just type in whatever it is you want to do, followed by organizations and societies. And there will be a bunch of them that pop up. You paid $100 to join one, and then you call and you start asking questions.
Wow.
In 2 weeks, you will know everything you need to know, and you will know if it's for you or if it's not. And if it's not, then you move to the next thing that you want to do. Like I said, I play chess. I'm 6, 7 moves down the board. I hustle. I have 6, 7 hustles in the hole. That's how you have to be in life. So I appreciate being on your podcast. I think we had a very productive conversation. I want to thank you for letting me run my mouth and learn even more than you knew yesterday. Right. And I hope your calf is all right.
Oh yeah, no, it's all good. So
Okay, cool.
DC, I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thank you for your insight, your resourcefulness, and everything you do. And I wish the best for you. And let's connect up sooner
Oh
or
yeah.
later.
Yeah, man. 2 months, I'm gonna have another 2 hours for you.
All
I
right.
go forever talking about this, man. I really can't.
I'd love to connect up to it. I'd love to get some more information from you.
All
I
right,
do appreciate your time, and
got it.
I hope you have a good Tuesday.
All right, man. Take care.
Thanks. Thank you.